This photo seems harmless, right? Well, zoom out a bit and it's already getting a bit unsettling. Why the police car or caution tape? This picture is from a denture clinic in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and was the symbolic end of several days of terror across the province. A 51-year-old man named Gabriel Wortman worked there and ended the lives of many by acquiring a replica Royal Canadian Mounted Police vehicle and uniform in order to pull various people over and shoot them. He also engaged in a series of house burnings as he killed across several areas of Nova Scotia. Finally, after being pursued by police for over 13 hours, Wortman was killed in a shootout with RCMP at a trucker rest area. Gabriel Wortman was pronounced dead at 11:40 a.m. at the scene with 25 gunshot wounds received. In total, 22 people were killed by Wortman across April 18th and 19th of 2020. In the days following, a petition was started by residents near Wortman's denture practice to get his signs removed, as victims' families and friends saw it as a slap in the face and a grim reminder of what had occurred weeks prior. It received almost 7,000 signatures and the signage was promptly removed. To this day, Wortman's motives for the spree are unknown, apart from him telling his wife that he was going to get someone on his way to Halifax. Scarily, Wortman's senior photo has a chilling description that features a prediction of him becoming an RCMP officer. In August of 2015, Jolee Callan and her boyfriend Lauren Daniel Bunner were hiking in the Talladega National Forest in Alabama. Somewhere along the trail, the pair stopped to admire the view. Here, Lauren snapped a photo of Jolee looking off into the wilderness. This is the last photo of Jolee ever taken. Lauren snapped the photo and shot Jolee before dumping her body off of the cliff face seen in this photo. Later on the same day, Bunner called 911 in Oxford from an area off exit 179 off Interstate 20. Investigators said Bunner told dispatchers he needed to talk to the police because he had murdered his girlfriend on the trail. The body of Jolee was found just off the Pinhoti Trail near the bottom of a rock cliff in a densely wooded area just south of the state park in Clay County. An autopsy revealed Callan had been shot twice, once from behind and once between the eyes. Police recovered a Bear Claw .22 gun from Bunner and observed a large amount of blood at the area where the shooting apparently took place. There was also blood on Bunner's steering wheel. Interestingly, Jolee's father Michael stated to investigators that the pair were no longer in a relationship prior to the killing and that Bunner had trouble moving on with his life. Additionally, Bunner had been stated to be quite possessive of Jolee and threatened suicide multiple times when she tried to break things off previously. His Instagram bio stated that his life was, quote, basically a bad pop-punk album. This trip to the forests of Alabama was seen by some as Jolee's way to amicably break up with Lauren, but gone horribly awry. Lauren Bunner was on July 13, 2017, sentenced to 52 years prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years. Ayano Tokumasu was a foreign exchange student from Japan. She was studying English at the Hansa Center in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. One day, in August of 2011, she and a friend took a trip to visit Niagara Falls. While there, Ayano was captured in the background of a couple's photo. As you can see, Ayano was dangerously close past the edge of the border separating safe viewing space and the slippery area. Sadly, Ayano Tokumasu slipped and fell off moments after this picture was taken. Niagara Falls police said surveillance footage from the visitor center shows a young woman holding an umbrella, straddling a safety railing and looking at the falls. But when she got up to climb back over the railing, she lost her balance and slipped into the rushing waters near the brink of Horseshoe Falls. Local police and fire crews searched the water below the falls in the days after the accident, but failed to locate her. Finally, Ayano's body was recovered when an employee of Cave of the Winds, an attraction in Niagara Falls, spotted the body in the water and notified authorities. The state park police confirmed Friday that the body was indeed Tokumasu's. Her family in Japan has been notified of the accident. This picture seems innocent at first. A lady holding her dog and looking at the ground. But things are not as they seem here. The lady is Myra Hindley, and her lover Ian Brady snapped the photo of her here at a moor in England on the day that they assaulted and killed 12-year-old John Kilbride. The two had their fair share of rough childhoods, with Myra having an alcoholic and abusive father and Ian being put up for adoption and moving around several households as a child. Myra's father championed the idea of her being tough enough to defend herself at a young age to the point of threatening a belt on her if she didn't fight back against bullies in school. Ian showed signs of animal cruelty as early as 9 years old and was in many rough prisons across the United Kingdom such as Strangeways and Hull. At some point, the two met at Millward's, a typist's shop, and Myra became infatuated with Ian. The pair often went out to watch X-rated films and read books about torture and National Socialist teachings. These events, coupled with their propensity for violence since childhood, unfortunately led to the brutal end of 5 children in the early 60s. The two were imprisoned for the rest of their lives, where Myra passed away in 2002 and Ian in 2017. Stephen Weber and his girlfriend, Kenesha Antoine, were staying in a submerged cabin at the Manta Resort off Pemba Island in Tanzania. The pair had booked 4 nights at the resort's underwater room, which lies approximately 820 feet from the shore. Costing $1,700 a night, the cabin is anchored in water around 10 meters or 32 feet deep. On the 3rd day of their stay, Stephen plunged into the water to make his proposal. Wearing a mask and fins, he held a note against the cabin's glass window as his girlfriend watched on from within. His note read, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you, but everything I love about you, I love more every day." Stephen then turned over the sheet of paper to reveal the proposal before pulling an engagement ring from his shorts and swimming out of view. Tragically, issues occurred with Stephen's equipment while underwater, and he was never able to resurface alive. In a Facebook post, Kenesha Antoine said Stephen never got to hear her answer to his proposal, which would have been 1,000,000 times yes. Kenesha further stated that we never got to embrace and celebrate the beginning of the rest of our lives together, as the best day of our lives turned into the worst, in the cruelest twist of fate imaginable. I will try to take solace in the fact that we enjoyed the most amazing bucket list experiences these past few days, and that we both were so happy and absolutely giddy with excitement in our final moments together. This photograph was taken in the afternoon on the 15th of August, 1998 in Omagh, Northern Ireland. In the background, the red car is moments away from exploding, and this image captures the moments before damage. In total, the bomb killed 6 children, 6 teenagers, 2 tourists from Spain, several more tourists from the Republic of Ireland, and a woman pregnant with twins. This bomb was set by the Real Irish Republican Army, a subgroup of the IRA who didn't agree with the Good Friday Agreements and wanted Ireland independent even if the violence continued. In June of 2009, the families of this bombing were awarded a combined total of £1.6 million from a civil action settlement against 4 defendants who were eventually found guilty of the bombings. At 10:40 a.m., patrolman John Morrissey was directing traffic at 34th Street and 5th Avenue. He noticed a swirling white scarf floating down from the upper floors of the Empire State Building. A moment later, he heard a crash that sounded like an explosion. He saw a crowd quickly converging at 33rd Street. 200 feet west of 5th Avenue, Evelyn McHale's body landed atop a car. Her impact caved in the metal roof and shattered the car's windows. That car's owner was in a nearby drugstore, luckily escaping death or serious harm. A photo of Evelyn was snapped after the crash, and it was dubbed the most beautiful suicide because of how peaceful and undisturbed she looked despite the long fall. On the observation deck, Detective Frank Murray of the West 30th Street Station found Evelyn's gray cloth coat, her pocketbook with several dollars, a note, and a makeup kit filled with family pictures. Part of her note read, "I don't want anyone in or out of my family to see any part of me. Could you destroy my body by cremation? I beg of you and my family, don't have any service for me or remembrance for me. My fiancé asked me to marry him in June. I don't think I would make a good wife for anybody. He is much better off without me. Tell my father I have too many of my mother's tendencies." In accordance with her wishes, she was cremated with no memorial, service, or grave. Her then fiancé Barry Rhodes became an engineer before moving south. He died unmarried in Melbourne, Florida on October the 9th, 2007. American model Ginger Meadows went to visit Australia after watching the movie Crocodile Dundee. Ginger had gone out on a trip on the Lady G, a luxurious boat, before planning to head to Papua New Guinea. The boat only had a skeleton crew, which included Meadows and her friend Jane Burchett. On the boat, Ginger had a photo snapped of her. This would be the last photograph of her ever taken. The Lady G later arrived at Cascade Falls, a beautiful waterfall south of Darwin, on the 29th of March 1987. The waters of North Australia are known to have high crocodile populations. This includes the largest crocodilian, the saltwater crocodile. These can grow up to 6 meters or almost 20 feet long, and are hunters that have been known to treat humans as prey. A skipper on the boat had advised Meadows that she was not to even so much as touch a toe into the water. Crocodiles are ambush predators and often lunge out of the water and drag their prey in without giving any prior warning. But despite the danger, Meadows and Burchett entered into the water for a swim. It was while the pair were swimming that a skipper noticed a sizable crocodile making a beeline directly for them. He screamed out a warning, but it was too late. The two women were pinned up against the foot of a waterfall in waist-deep water, with the enormous crocodile lurking just feet away. Jane Burchett described what happened next. She said, "It swam right up to us and had its mouth open. Then I took my shoe off and threw it at it, hit it on top of its head, and it closed its mouth. Because the crocodile was in front of us, maybe Ginger thought she could swim to the shoreline and get away." Unfortunately, Meadows was not fast enough to outswim the crocodile. Burchett further stated, "She let go of my arm, jumped off the ledge, took 2 strokes and it grabbed her around the waist and pulled her right under the water. Then he pulled her up out of the water right in front of me. I looked her right in the face. She had her arms in the air and she was looking right at me. Then it pulled her back under the water." Meadows' body was found the next day on what would have been her 25th birthday. Her death is still one of Australia's most high-profile crocodile attacks. Brian Wells was born on November the 15th, 1956, in Warren, Pennsylvania. He was described as being very shy as a child and was one of 6 children. At age 16, he dropped out of high school to become a mechanic. Later in life, he took up various jobs to support himself, including a pizza delivery driver in Erie, Pennsylvania. A few years before Brian was born, Marjorie Deal Armstrong was born in Erie, Pennsylvania on the 26th of February, 1949. She was a very ambitious student in school and even served as her high school's valedictorian. Unfortunately, in the 1970s, Marjorie began to experience symptoms of severe bipolar disorder. This condition strengthened with age, and Marjorie shot and killed her then-boyfriend in 1984 and did the same to another boyfriend in 2003 after he threatened to call the police on a mysterious plot she was forming. On August 28, 2003, Wells was told to deliver a pizza at an address a bit on the outskirts of Erie. Curiously, Wells arrived at the address and was faced with a TV transmission tower in the woods instead of a home or apartment. What transpired exactly is uncertain, but what is known is that Brian Wells found himself face to face with something very nefarious. Somehow, Marjorie locked a bomb collar around Brian's neck and ordered him to rob a PNC bank of $250,000 or the bomb would explode. Wells arrived at the bank with a collar, a shirt that said "Guess," a shotgun disguised to look like a cane, and handwritten instructions. Security cameras were able to provide pictures of him inside of the bank. Wells was only able to obtain $8,702 as the teller claimed that was the largest amount that she could gather for him. Shortly afterward, the bank contacted the police, who quickly found Brian Wells standing outside his car in a nearby parking lot. Wells told police that people had placed the bomb around his neck and that it would go off unless he completed a scavenger hunt. This hunt would eventually lead to keys that he could use to free himself from the device. As police called in the bomb squad and promptly took cover, Wells continued to stand in the parking lot of an eyeglass shop near the bank. Regrettably, the collar exploded 3 minutes before the bomb squad arrived and 30 minutes after the robbery. It ripped a hole in the chest of Brian Wells and he died on the pavement. Authorities searched Wells' car, leading to the scavenger hunt clues. Wells had been telling the truth. In fact, Wells had already retrieved the first clue between the time when he left the bank and when the police picked him up. It was a 2-page note that explained that the rest of the clues would let him live and then directed him to his next clue. This note further detailed Wells' instructions, including a warning against calling police or aircraft, as he would be, as the note put it, destroyed. At the bottom, a chilling closing statement read, "Act now, think later, or you will die." When police followed the trail to the next clue in the pizza bomber case, they found that someone had already deliberately removed it. Now authorities had more reason to suspect that Brian Wells had been telling the truth, and that there were also other conspirators involved in this bizarre plot. Theories began circulating about the motives behind the bomb plot, with some speculating that Wells had been in on the plot as he wanted to settle some debts with the stolen cash, but he was duped when he found that the collar wasn't a fake. Shortly after, another failed bank robber named Bill Rothstein was also brought in for questioning, as he claimed to be part of the plot and had Marjorie's ex's body from 2003 in his freezer. He told police that Marjorie Deal Armstrong drummed up the bank robbery plot because her father was supposedly squandering her multi-million-dollar inheritance, and she wanted money to pay a hitman to kill him before all the money was spent. Deal Armstrong then killed her boyfriend, James Roden, when he threatened to tell police about the whole thing. Unfortunately for investigators, Bill Rothstein died of lymphoma in 2004 and was never fully brought to justice. Additionally, Marjorie Armstrong Deal was sentenced to life in prison in 2010 and died in 2017 of cancer. Today, there are still several loose ends from this case that have yet to be properly explained.